Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, good morning, and thanks for taking part in this first webinar of the IPA4SME initiative. My name is Francisco Bujan. I'm from CARSA. I'm here with our team in CARSA. We also have Nicolas Jules from Copacom, and our colleagues from the University of Alicante also attending the webinar, who might also have something to add during the presentation, especially in the Q&A part of it. Now we are just a couple of minutes after 10. We already have more than 40 people online, so I guess we can get started. First of all, I would pass the word to Niklas, who will explain you just a few things about how to participate and get the most out of this presentation. And so please, Niklas.
Yes, thank you, Francisco. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We are very happy to welcome that many of you to this first webinar on IPA4SME. And I'm just going to walk you through a few housekeeping rules and to, as Francisco said, get the most out of this webinar and know how you can interact with us during it. So as you will have noticed, you are all muted by default. This is done to just facilitate it because it's very hard with, of course, more than 40 people on the line to have everyone, to have the background noise of everyone really. But there are a few ways in which you can interact with us. So you can ask questions at any point in your question section, and you can interact with us on the chat. That functions just like any other chat. The last option you have is to raise your hand to speak at some point. Please note that we will have a general question and answer session at the end or at the of this webinar. This means that we will collect the questions you can ask during the webinar, either in the chat or in the question section, and then answer them all together at the very end. So please feel free to add your questions at any point. I see a few we're already having come in, so maybe I'm just going to answer them quickly, that you know we're actually doing this. So we are recording this webinar, and I'm part of Copacom, which is a communications agency for institutional communication based in Brussels. But this is pretty much it for the housekeeping rules. Yeah, looking forward to your questions, looking forward to getting your feedback on this webinar. And I think this is it from me. And Francisco, you can start.
Okay, thanks again. Now we're almost 50 people now, and well, I'm going to pass the word to Mr. Perske from DG Grow, Policy Officer in DG Grow, who would like to make an introduction of the background and the main goals of this initiative, so we can all have an overall view of what our intention here and what are our objectives. So please, Mr. Perske, you can speak now. Let's see if he's.
I'm not
Hello.
Sure. I'm not sure Mr. Perske is on the line, to be honest. I don't see him here.
Okay. No problem then. We can maybe go on until he's online, and then just quickly make him give him the floor and just explain what are the main objectives of this initiative. Then we will do it that way. So let's get started. I'm not sure to what extent all of you, and I know that we've been having some interactions with some of you in the past days since the call.
que decir, no hemos dicho que lo de los portátiles de la comisión no funciona.
So it seems like Mr. Pershi can hear us, but not speak. Niklas, it seems like he's online, but he cannot speak.
Okay, I'm looking into it. I suggest in the meanwhile you start with your presentation, and
Okay.
I will find a
Yeah.
solution to this.
We'll do it that way, yes. So we've been having some interactions, particularly since we launched the call at the beginning of this month. And we've been also working really hard to try to convey to all of you what are the objectives and the procedures that are set up for the delivery of this project and these services, particularly in the website. So I invite all of you to go to our IPA4SME.eu website really carefully, and it's been worked out in a way that is very easy to understand, and it doesn't have lots of text, but more direct indications on how to participate. But basically our idea is that our intention is to foster and to help innovative European SMEs to get the best out of their your intellectual or your technology and knowledge assets in order to use the tools that are at your disposal to protect that knowledge and that technology so you can grow and expand and find new markets. So that is basically the idea, and what we have in this project put at your disposal are basically two types of services. For services, one of this first one is the IP pre-diagnostic, which is intention is to get an expert analysis of your assets and to find some advice and indications on what should you do in order to get the best out of it, in order to grow and to be even more successful business. That on the one side, and these services will be provided free of charge for you, and we will explain later on how is that going to be provided. And the second type of services are co-financing. We will be co-financing or your expenditures or your costs in the actions related to patent registration processes in front of before the EPO, the European Patent Office. Okay, and for these services we have two kind of different services, which is first one would be the co-financing, the cost you have to incur when paying the EPO patent application fees for filing the patent, and secondly the cost you have when hiring an IP attorney, giving you advice on what is the best way of doing that filing of the patent application. Okay, so basically that would be the two types of supporting services in terms of co-financing. Then in going into detail on this particularly two types of co-financing, here you can see in the slide the terms and conditions of the service itself, in terms of the amount of co-financing that we will be supporting, and the maximum amount of support that will be given per patent application. So beneficiaries, if you are selected in the call, you'll be reimbursed up to 75% of the EPO fees, with a limit of 2,500 euros per patent application. Secondly, for the IP attorney reimbursement, you will be receiving up to 50% of the IP attorney cost to a maximum of 2,000 euros per patent application. You have a limit of 5 different patent applications for the first one, and there's no limit on the second one, rather than it has to be related to a different patent application. We forgot to include here that the maximum, as you can see in the website, the maximum support that you will be given from us will be 15,000 euros in total. Okay.
Yeah, this is right. Do you happen to hear me as well?
Yes, Mr. Perske, how are you? Good morning.
Fine. So just continue, and at some point I'll be happy to.
Okay, great.
Say a few words.
Okay. One important thing, of course, and this is something that I guess most of all of you wondered or were asking yourself at the beginning, is whether you are eligible for receiving this the services, and this slide try to explain the basics of the eligibility criteria that we are going to take into account. And the first one would be that you have as a company, as an SME, you have to have a seal of excellence. So you have to have participated in the H2020 SME instrument program at some point during the past three years, and have received a seal of excellence as a result of that. As you may know, the seal of excellence is a certificate given to those of you who have participated, who had a promising and really well evaluated project proposal, but didn't receive any financial support due to budget limitations. So this would be the first condition. You have to have a seal of excellence provided by the program, not later than 3 years prior to the application in our program. Okay. The second one is that you have to be an SME, and for that there are very clear instructions or conditions, requirements that you have to have, and that those are public and are European-wide definition, which you have no more than 250 employees, and your turnover must not exceed 50 million euros, and your annual balance should not exceed 43 million euros. So these are basically the rules for eligibility. You have to be an SME and you have to hold a seal of excellence. Then in terms of where you are, where your companies are located, all EU member states and COSME countries are eligible for IP protection co-financing. So for service 2 and 3, I was mentioning before. So reimbursement of IPO patent application fees and IP attorney fees. And for service 1, what we have called service 1, which is the main, Mr. Perske will have the chance later on to explain you a little bit more, which constitutes maybe the basic or the core intention of this program is to encourage you to analyze yourself and get the best out of your assets, which is this IP prior diagnostic. And for this, only companies that are funded or incorporated in those 11 countries that you can see in the slide right now are the ones that can participate in this. This has been taken. This has been a decision taken on a country level. We have been receiving some questions from countries that are not in the list, that saying, why is not my country, or why can't I participate in this? But this is the situation. Maybe Mr. Perske can later on give you more information about this. So these are the conditions to participate. And then, of course, you have to, as we were saying, you have to participate. You have to apply for each of these 3 services, depending on what your feelings, your ideas on how to do this. Of course, we encourage all of you that can participate, can take advantage of the IP pre-diagnostic, we encourage you to do so. And of course, also take the most out of the other services as well. But again, you have to make an application. It's a very straightforward process that we have set up for you, to which you have to access via our platform, via our website. You can have direct access to a platform. You have to register who you are, what's your company, and fill in an application form, a very simple one with basic information and some other information about your performance as a company, and some other very tiny things that we're asking, plus providing us with that seal of excellence we were discussing a few minutes ago, and also a document that is the ESR, the Evaluation Summary Report, that you received when you participate in the SME instrument program, and then just press submission and just go on. So we can say that the application process is very simple, 3 steps, and you can do it in just a few minutes. Okay, but again, you have to go to the website, and then you just follow the indications. So you will be directly accessing the platform, especially developed for this, which is it's called EMS. It's an own platform, and just follow the process. So, well, maybe most of you would already know that we have an open call launch at the beginning of the month, 6th of May. We have our first cutoff date, the 7th of June. I think it's 5 p.m. Yeah, 5 p.m. As a deadline for that cutoff date. And in the following days, you will receive an answer whether your application has been retained for support or not. You might have also seen that if you have read the documentation, that there are more cutoff dates foreseen in the coming months, particularly during this year, 2019. We're going to have another cutoff date by the end of September and by mid-end December this year. Okay, but as always happens, the budget is limited, so we encourage everyone to participate as soon as possible, and also, of course, depending on the strategy, or depending on what are your plans, and what are the foreseen plans for you in terms of IP protection from now on. Okay, so you can plan yourself and try to get analyzing the conditions of the program, what is the best way to participate and to react in time-wise speaking. So yeah, but that's more or less. We will have some questions and answers just after this. What I wanted to say, I know that also from interactions we've been having with some of you, and all the applications that we already have, and maybe I can give some numbers now if you want to know. But we have, as I said, a website. You can follow us on Twitter. We publish there what are our activities, the call, the webinars. You can also follow us on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well. And I think that what's best now, we have prepared trying to advance a little bit from what would be your questions. We have just summarized and put into the slides 8 of the most common questions you or some other people have made during these past days. We go through them afterwards, but but before that, I think it might be time to Mr. Perske to participate and to give you a welcome and also and a little bit what we've been discussing during the last minutes.
Yes, hello. Thank you for giving me the floor. Please take note that I'm not going to use slides. So what you see on the screen is relevant for other parts of this webinar. And first of all, I'm very happy that the process itself started, and we are at the beginning of the project where we ourselves in the Commission have a lot of hopes, and we are as well have the trust that you will be able to profit from it. Now, in terms of project main aims, is in fact to allow you to grow with your projects, with your innovation projects, and go potentially towards other sources of funding or investors, private investors, but with one more valuable asset at hand, with a potentially better approach to the management of intellectual property. And so the idea is basically, if some of you did not yet have the chance to reflect better about the role of intellectual property within your business idea, within your business strategy, that project is essentially for that, to support you to use intellectual property in a smarter manner and help you to grow using that. What we try not to encourage is to just push you to register additional intellectual property rights. What we really want is that you look at your intellectual assets together with specialists and decide what are the ones that are most useful from your business strategy point of view and that are worth protecting and registering if needed. And then those, yes, those would make sense to register. Now, in the Commission and in the Agency for Small Medium-Sized Enterprises that acts on our behalf, we also would like to see two things checked with this project, is to look what is the impact on you, on your performance, on your growth of the support that we will provide you. So we very much count on your cooperation on that, within 1 or 2 years after you receive this support service, you also answer our survey that will be standardized and will ask you on the longer term results of what you have received. That will very much help us in shaping the policy in the future. We also will take a more immediate feedback from the pre-diagnostic services in order to better shape and refine the method of the IP pre-diagnostic service as such. So that is what we are aiming at. Now, we indeed stress that what we want to trigger is a reflection on what are the intellectual assets that are worth protecting. We think that first, it's important to use IP specialists and ask them the question by saying, okay, this is my aim, this is my business goal. Can you, IP specialist, help me achieve my business goal using intellectual property? So that's why we encourage you to use the advice, either the IP pre-diagnostic, if it's available for you, or the patent attorney advice. The IP pre-diagnostic covers all potential ways of protecting intellectual assets, including trade secrets, because patents may be relevant to you, but may not necessarily. And don't hesitate to tell to the patent attorney, if you go to the patent attorney for the advice, that the person, the expert also tells you about the use of other intellectual property that may be relevant for you. So keep your mind open. The patent attorney can also tell you, actually, in your case, trade secrets may be better, other means of protection may be more appropriate, or may be complementary to patent protection if you go for that. So the idea is to keep a pretty open mind on how to protect, given what are the most valuable assets for you. Now, I understand that I should provide 2 quick additional information. Briefly describe what an IP pre-diagnostic service is about, what is the process, and also why do we provide only IP pre-diagnostic services in 11 member states. So the process itself, you're put in touch with an IP expert, either a trained patent office employee or an innovation advisor, technology transfer specialist, or an IP attorney that has been trained in the service, in the provision of the service. This expert will look first at the very basic information you have provided about yourself, will try to look for the situation of intellectual property rights of yourself and your competitors, potentially, and will come to talk to you, make an interview with you of 2 to 4 hours, depending on the needs and the complexity of your company and your projects. The person, the expert, will look at all potential assets, important intellectual assets that you may have, and will analyze with you what really matters for you in order to be able to draft a report. So after the interview with you, the expert will go to her or his office, draft a report based on the information provided. The report will be confidential, and the report will include recommendations, suggestions on what can be protected, how it can be protected, what may be the approximate costs, and what are the potential help sources on how to do it. With your own analysis of your market perspective, you could contrast your potential gains with the potential costs of those protection methods. Now, 11 member states. Why? The reason is that 11 member states have decided to join us in this project, train their experts in that process according to our methodology, and wanted to provide this service. There are other member states that may be providing very similar services, and we hope that most likely after the summer, we could provide links on the website to the service providers in those other member states, so that you could apply then at national level for such IP pre-diagnostic or IP pre-diagnostic-like services. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll be also available in the question and answer session.
Okay, thanks very much. So we can go directly to the questions and answers. Actually, you have answered one of the questions we have put into the slide, so we can skip that one. As I said, we have tried to summarize or collect all the questions that we've been receiving through the help desk and the CO's help desk email address that we have put at your disposal for questions during application preparation or any doubt about how to participate in the program. And this is what we have come up with this doing this exercise. I'm going to just show you a first question, for instance, first two questions, and the answer we've been we are giving you. So and the first one, of course, Mr. Pesca, you can also add something if there are slight comments on the questions, and of course on the answers as well. One thing we've been asked several times actually during the past days has been whether if I had or if I have a seal of excellence, but I have won as well a SME instrument project, would I be eligible to participate? And the answer is that if this has been the case for phase 2 SME instrument, you would not be eligible to receive support from IP4SME. But this is not the case if you have been awarded with or you have won a phase 1 project in the SME instrument. Okay, so so this is the clear answer. If you have a seal of excellence, but you later on of course you kept on trying, and your project was good, of course, obviously, you might have as well won the project, and if this is the case for phase 2, you wouldn't be eligible. If this is the case for phase 1, you would be eligible to apply for support.
I think briefly I would add here, the reason is that under phase 2 you clearly have the budget to ask for IP services from private external providers. And so we trust that you can ask for that. You could also use the contacts that we will have on the website in order to ask the National IP Office for a separate paid-for service in IP pre-diagnostic, if you are interested, and then cover it from the costs of the phase 2 grant as such. That's the reason, and that's the logic why phase 2 participants are not eligible for the financing of those activities.
Okay, thanks. That's good. The second one would be, as you can read there, is about a little bit about timing. One asks, we have a seal of excellence and filed a patent already. Can we be a beneficiary to receive reimbursement from IP4SME if we already filed a patent, or a patent submission date should be after the application at IP4SME? And our rules for implementation, our rules for the program are very clear. We can only reimburse beneficiaries for IPO and patent attorney invoices that are issued after you have been officially awarded with our support. If the patent has already been filed, the cost attached to that wouldn't be eligible for reimbursement. So this is clear. A third one. Well, this is, I mean, it might not be your case, but we have received several things, questions about whether, I don't remember if I have a seal of excellence, or I cannot find it. What can I do? Where can I go to get that? And well, maybe I cannot read all of this, but you should, if you have it, you should be able to access that going into the participant portal, logging into that into the EU Commission platform, and go to my proposals. If you go to the proposal, to the project that you submitted or participated in the SME program, SME instrument program, and look for that documentation. If you have a seal of excellence, you should be able to find it there. Okay, together also with the evaluation summary report corresponding to that project. These are actually, as you saw already, the two documents that you have to provide in order to be selected in this program: seal of excellence certificate and the evaluation summary report. Because one is because it's a requirement, and the other is because you're going to be ranked. The priority will be in terms of what was that score that you got when you submitted a project to the SME instrument. Okay, and the score is presented in the ESR. So this is clear. So you should all be able to find that documentation. A fourth question is what happened. What happens after you've been eventually selected as a beneficiary? And well, in the case of the prior diagnostics, well, the reasons and the process have already been explained, but we will put you in contact with the IP expert for doing that, and you will follow with him or her the process that Mr. Perske has already explained to you. And in the cases of the other two services, the reimbursement of fees, this will be done, of course, on a case-by-case basis. But once you provide the required documentation proving that this has been and complies with the rules, you will receive the corresponding reimbursement. So as you can see, it all happens after you have been awarded with the support, and then it's up to you, or it's up to the strategy that the IP attorney might have helped you to design, or the IP prior diagnostic might have helped you to think of, which will determine the timing of that documentation and of course the payment. So that triggers another question, which is how much time do I have to provide or justify the cost that I have incurred in when participating or while being a beneficiary, and the answer is that you have, well, plenty of time. I mean, there is no limit further than or other than the limit of this IP4SME initiative, which is tentatively the end of the project, which is end of January 2021. So up until that time, you will have to deploy the strategy and of course the actions and the cost that those actions are derived from to justify and present to us the required documentation, and so we can co-finance and do the reimbursement to you. So this will be the timing. For the service one, this is for service 2 and service 3. For service 1, it's also this way, but we would prefer that I mean, in a reasonable timing, you will be able to go through the process that Mr. Perske was explaining, in order for you to have time enough to deploy and to go to the next stages. So we will encourage you to well, get on the move as far as possible, to put forward the service, the IP prior diagnostic actions into place. Sixth question would be: I'm already working with an IP attorney. This is something that we've been receiving many times, as a matter of fact. And his or her costs are his or her costs reimbursable? Well, for IP attorneys in this program, there is a clear rule here: is that they have to be entitled as to act before the European Patent Office. So if he or her is the case, that would be is perfectly okay for us. But you have to check. You have to check whether this person is entitled to act before the EPO, and you can go to that link there. You can search by name, you can search by country, you can search by city, and you can see if your IP attorney you feel comfortable to work with is eligible for us. And so this is something that we already been asked as well. And sorry, and number 7, because number 8 is the process that was explained for pre-diagnostics. Are all types of patents eligible to be subject of IPA4SME support? And the answer is no, because there has to be an European patent registration process, which means which for the purpose of our program is defined as filing an application for a patent before the EPO covering more than 2 EU member states. So because we've been asked about this, no cost for IP protection in the US, no cost for IP protection in China, etc. will be covered. Not even those processed through other mechanisms like the PCT that are run or managed by the EPO as well. Furthermore, no other costs than filing the patent applications are eligible at the beginning of the process, so will be covered. Thus, so no cost related to other later stages like requests, examination requests, replies, publications, maintenance, etc. will be covered by IPA4SME. This is basic.
Perhaps a brief clarification on that.
Yep.
What we mention in terms of coverage of European patent application costs, that relates to all European Patent Office costs up until the grant of the patent.
Indeed. Yeah.
So we definitely don't cover the maintenance costs, but the different fees that are piling up in advance of the grant of the European patent are eligible.
Mm-hmm.
As long as these are European Patent Office fees.
Okay. Okay, so not just the filing, the initial, step, but any further steps that might be required will also be eligible.
Up until the grant of the patent, and obviously also with the limit, with the cap that we have mentioned, which is €2,500 and 75% of the invoices.
Of the invoices, good. So that's good. So we will redefine this reply and put it into the FAQ document and make it available to everyone. So they can access that answer later on. Okay. So this will be it from our side. Then now it's time to try to advance a little bit your questions you might have, but of course if you may have any other questions, we can go through them.
Yes, Francisco, we have a few questions in the question section if you want to check that. So maybe you can go through them if they have not been answered already during in the question and answer you just did.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
I can only see. Maybe you can. I cannot see them.
You can see them below the attendees tab, and if you click on the small symbol with an arrow, you can undock the questions, and then you can see them all.
now I can I see them?
Okay, otherwise I can read them.
I can see them, but in a very small.
Okay, next to the X symbol, you can undock it from the thing, and then you have it in a bigger window. It's a small symbol next to the X, and then.
There you go. Okay, thanks.
Great.
Okay, so well, first, yeah, question would be, can we or can you apply for all the services at once? Yes, actually, we encourage to do so. So you have our support from the very beginning, and independently from independently from the results of the prior diagnostic, because it might happen that the advice's suggestions or recommendations that you can wait a little bit, or you can just do this and that with that knowledge set. You already have our support and the time running for service 2 and 3. So you can definitely apply for all the services at the same time. Or if you prefer, I mean, you can also firstly apply for one service for IP prior diagnostic maybe, and then on a later cutoff date apply for the other services. So you can choose the best way, but you can definitely do it at the same time. Another question was, can you tell us something about the budget and contact details per country if it first come first served? Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's a first come first served way of selecting, because the budget is limited, as I was saying. But the thing is that also we are considering for the selection, we are considering the score that you got when participating in the SME instrument program. So those who have higher score among all the seal of excellence holders are best positioned to receive funds or receive the services. But of course, since our budget is limited, we encourage to do it as soon as possible, in order to guarantee that you will be best positioned to get that.
Yeah, perhaps I would add here, our aim is to provide the services to as large a group as possible. Now, we needed to cut the budget into quarterly assignments in order to somehow try to still think of providing to the best cases, to the ones that are more in our policy line. And that's why when there is more requests than available budget in a given cutoff date, we would first look at the SME instrument results you have received and select the people, the projects that have the highest results. If the results will be equal, then we will look into the size of the company and the year of the incorporation. So the smaller the company, the more we would favor such a company. And if companies are of similar size, then we would look at whether the company is younger and will favor younger companies. Now, if we discover that demand is very large from the very beginning, we might increase the budgets for the subsequent cutoff dates and then use the budget faster, which means that at particular cutoff dates, there may be more room for applicants, and obviously we need to base ourselves on the past performance. So far the limit of the budget is what is announced in the documents, around 400,000 euro. Colleagues from CARSA can precise that
well,
number.
It's 12,500.
Yeah, indeed. And if we discover that the demand is much higher, we may decide to increase the budget of the next cutoff accordingly. But we'll never go beyond doubling the budget. So any next budget per cutoff date will not be higher than 825,000 euro.
Okay, yeah, so that would be our eventual maximum per cutoff date. But yeah, the way that has been explained is the way that we will get an automatic ranking of your applications in considering into the equation that those criteria that we mentioned. The score in the SME instrument, the number of employees that your company has, and the year of incorporation. The younger the company is, the better. As a third ranking criteria, okay, and based on those on that criteria, we will be issuing the ranking of all the applications. Okay, so moving on to the next one, does the financial contribution of IPO fees and patent attorneys also available for patent applications that have already been filed in the past? The answer is no. As I was saying, timing is important here. So these fees have to be incurred or invoiced after you have been awarded with IP4SME support. So it's all from in the case of the first cutoff date from mid-June, a few days after the very cutoff date, which is 7th of June. A few days after, from that moment on, that will be the cost incurred in that timing will be eligible. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's useful to say this has a clear logic from a policy perspective, which means that we aim at encouraging certain new activities. If people would anyway register patents themselves, there is a bit less of a case to provide the financial support. This financial support has the aim of stimulating to do something, so it would not be entirely logical to finance activities that were done before we have indicated that you are eligible for such financing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one question here is: do you know the minimum score from what the project have been funded? I think the minimum score is 13 to receive a seal of excellence. It used to be 12.
If the question is funded?
Do you know the minimum score from what the projects have been funded?
We have this.
Well, I mean, I think they refer to the seal of excellence. We know that you should have received a seal of excellence if you scored 12 or 13 minimum with a maximum of 15 in that project, and you should have received a seal of excellence in that case.
But in principle, this is a question that we can try to transmit to our colleagues that deal with the seal of excellence, because I understand that unless you precise that this is a question that relates to the IPA4SME project, that I mean, if it's for this project, that's a different story. We can try to answer. And well, if it's for the SME instrument, then it's colleagues from the SME instrument.
For us, and besides, it depends on the call and the cutoff date for the. I mean, I guess every cutoff date in the SME instrument did have a different minimum score. Yeah, a slight difference. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can additionally say that in our case, if we will finance and limit our financing depending on the SME instrument result, at every cutoff date it will be slightly different, simply because we don't know who is going to apply and what are the scores of the applicants. So we would rank the applicants and then cut where the budget is exhausted. So that's the reason why we basically cannot a priori say that as of a certain result you will certainly get, and below a certain threshold you will certainly not receive that kind of support that is provided through the IPA4SME project.
Okay, Diego Carrillo here is asking, I have a question. Does this program cover the registration processes of utility models? Well, in principle, the answer is no. We will say that only a registration process of patent. This is the for service 2 and 3. These are the type of protection that we are supporting. Other types of protection might be a result of the IP price diagnostic, but will not be covered by this program.
Okay, I will perhaps make a comment in here. If you go to a patent attorney and you hesitate whether a patent would be useful for you or a utility model, and in the discussion with the European patent attorney, you come to the conclusion that the European patent is not a good idea and it's instead a utility model that is more relevant, and the patent attorney within this advice gives you the advice on how to apply for a utility model, then it's just enough that you get from a European patent attorney an invoice for this service, and you state that as a conclusion of this advice, a European patent was not encouraged to be applied for. So you would not be able to get the financing for the utility model fees, but you could get somehow the financing for discussing this issue with the patent attorney that would be giving you advice in relation to a utility model. So that would actually be able to be eligible.
Okay. Yeah.
If your potential starting idea is that could potentially be a European patent.
Yeah. Okay. Another question is, could you provide, please, the website link to carry out the application? You just go to IPA4 with the number SME.eu. That's the website link, and there you will click into how to apply or apply. You will be directly linked to the platform to carry out the application process. Is this webinar being recorded? Yes, in order to be able to watch afterwards. Yes, it's been recorded. You will receive, all registered person will receive a link, if I'm not wrong, you receive a link to access the recording afterwards. Another question here by Kirsten is why is the EN network included? Maybe Mr. Perske can give an answer on this, but EN network is directly connected also with the COSME program, of course, because it's supported by this program, and also the agency that acts on behalf of the Commission in this program, IP4SME, also runs the acts on behalf of the Commission for the network. That is the relation. And that is, which is, as you can imagine, a very close and direct relation with the Enterprise Euro Network project as well.
That's absolutely the case. The Enterprise Europe Network is one of our communication channels.
Yep.
And in specific cases, there may be members of the Enterprise Europe Network that are also innovation advisors and are indicated as experts providing IP per diagnostic services. But this is more rare as a case, but also can happen.
Okay, the question is, what is the time between the application and date of awarding? It will be a matter of days. Our plan is, of course, depending on the number of applications that we receive, but our idea is to be able to communicate to you the results maximum 1 week after the cutoff date. You will receive an email communication saying whether you've been selected or not, and if not, the reason for not being selected. Okay.
Yeah, and in that sense, we have a question from the Danish Patent and Trademark Office about when are we going to connect the beneficiaries with the IP pre-diagnostic services providers, and that will be after the selection of the SMEs, meaning, as Francisco was explaining, the latest 1 week after the cutoff, the corresponding cutoff.
Mm-hmm. Another question is the IP support only for new patent applications, or maybe also for expanding patents internationally? Well, expanding patents internationally would not be the case again, at least for service 2, which is IPA4SME application. And I guess not even for service with the IP attorney, because the IP attorney advice should be given to a potential EU patent, European patent, not to a.
Perhaps a slight clarification though. If somebody has applied for a national patent somewhere in the EU, so you have applied, for instance, for a Spanish patent or for a Swedish patent or a Greek patent, and you would like to extend, and you're still within the time limit of asking for a European patent, then that would be the only case where, in fact, it could serve for a geographical extension of your initial patent application at national level. So we would accept the fact that you would apply with the funding from the IPA4SME project funding for a European patent if you took already your own national patent in one of the EU member states. That is something we can support, since from a European point of view, we would like to enlarge the validity of patents that you have and potentially allow you to get a broader geographical protection that allows you to have a possibility of marketing in more member states with the hope to get benefits from the protection in those additional markets.
Okay, that's good. There was a question, but before, I think our explanation about the countries, Portugal is not eligible for IP price diagnostic. The answer is no, and the reasons has already been given. Another question is, this open call, how has it been sent out or marketed? We have we have tried to disseminate it as much as possible through our, as I said, we have created a Twitter account, a Facebook account, and LinkedIn account. The team inside the project, well, initially, of course, connected that with all our professional connections, and we've been interacting also with the network. DG RTD and European Commission have also made an effort to disseminate this call, and well, that's. I mean, we of course, as you can imagine, our intention is to get the most audience as the biggest audience as possible.
Perhaps just to mention that we as a commission have sent an email to all Seal of Excellence holders for the last 3 years, because the eligibility is limited for the Seal of Excellence holders that have a valid Seal of Excellence within the last 3 years, and all those Seal of Excellence holders have been reached by email. Obviously, this is not necessarily super effective, but at least it does ensure that all the eligible parties have been informed about the opportunity, and we hope that everyone that was interested thought about it and is potentially applying.
Mm-hmm. Let's look for more question. Well, here again, where do we find the Seal of Excellence that have been awarded? As I said, you can see that in the presentation. You have to log into the participant portal and access that. Go to the very proposal, SME submit proposal that you prepared and submitted, and that you can find it. Which criteria will be used to choose the projects to be granted besides the Seal of Excellence? We've already explained that. So the score in that project, the number of employees, and the year of incorporation, meaning that the less employees you have, you will be favored, and the younger the company is, you will be also favored in that case. Okay, you are supporting Seal of Excellence holders who previously have submitted a phase 1 SME grant or phase 2 as well. Do you IP support also patents which do not directly correspond to the submitted SME applications for future developments or the next step after the SME project? Well, the answer is that that we take for granted that it is related, but even if the patent is not related to the very project that you submitted, you will also be considered eligible, since you have participated in the program, you hold in a Seal of Excellence, and so that means that you are an innovative and a company with really potential to exploit your IP assets. So in that case, you would also be eligible to be a potential beneficiary of this project. And that will be it. Those are all the questions we have received. I think we've gone through most of them, of the common issues that have been raised by every one of you. In any case, we will be continuously checking out our help desk email account, which is helpdesk at IP4SME.eu. You can just type your questions to that email account, and we will reply to you as fast as we can, and which will be actually good, because we'll be enriching the concepts and the objectives and the replies that we give to you, so everybody has the same clear picture of what is the intention of this initiative. Well, we've been running for almost 1 hour and 13 minutes. I would like to thank you all for participating, for your interest in this project. I hope I've seen some names that I've been interacting with. I hope you all find this interesting, and you finally apply for support in our program. We will, a few days after the communication, we will also organize a webinar in terms of explaining in detail what is the procedure in each of the cases in order to seamlessly run the project and get the most out of our services. So you will get informed about this as well if selected. So we will keep in touch in any case, and in case you're not selected, you will have another chance by the end of September. Okay, so don't hesitate to go for that one too if eventually not selected for this one. So yeah, that would be from my side. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Mr. Perske. We'll keep in touch, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.